Yes, my name is Jeremy, and welcome to the Young Media Professionals Podcast Show, where we have entrepreneurs and investors share their experience and advice with us. Today, our special guest is Mr. Baker, and he'll be sharing his knowledge with us today. Welcome, Mr. Baker.
Good afternoon, good evening. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay,
Pleasure.
perfect. I have you here because you're an entrepreneur, and not only that, you're an entrepreneur, you're a teacher, and you taught us something. Not only myself, but you taught a lot of kids that went to Milton Peters College a lot of important things to do with life, and we also gonna go into that later in the show. But before we start about that, let the people know something about yourself.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned, Mr. Baker, born and raised right here in St. Martin. Um, I attended MPC as a student, and I went to Holland after. I did MBO.
Okay.
I did MBO Social Juridisch Medewerker. That was pretty fun. And after that, I considered that to be my passport to get into the HBO. I got into the HBO, and then I studied to become a teacher in Omgangskunde. And yeah, and that's what I do. That is the teaching aspect of myself. That's how I got into that part.
And teaching, you was a teacher at Milton Peters College. How did you get into Milton Peters College, and what were you teaching?
How did I get into MPC? Well, of course, you get in by applying, right? But no, all just aside though, while I was doing my MBO uploading, coming down to the ending, I knew I wanted to become a teacher, but I didn't know exactly what type of teacher to become. I know I ain't the best in Wiskunda. I know I don't put me in languages, so I had those kind of cons that wasn't working on my side, but I know I had a gift in communicating and also vibing with people.
Okay.
And then I remember I sent an email to our current decan at the moment still, which is Mufra Roger Staba. I can remember I sent her an email back in the early 2000s and asking her, Yufra, what kind of, I'm thinking about teaching and what kind of subjects would they be needing in the near future? And she sent me a list of teachers that, different subjects that I can apply for. And within that list was also the subject that they call omgangskunde, which basically teaches you who you met under the mensen moet omgaan, how you would actually go around with people. And when I saw it, I started doing some research on it, and I felt like that click automatically, it just fit automatically with me, perfect, because I'm a social person. I like to vibe. I like to send a message or bring on a message, and pretty much this is what the subject is about. I sure anybody who could remember getting class from me, they would say, Mr. Baker, I was going to tell you, hey, where's my reflection report? Because yeah, we're always working on reflecting and learning from ourselves, learning from our own mistakes.
So you started Milton Peters College. How was it your first 2 years teaching?
The first 2 years teaching it was nice. It was those were it's hard to say which is better from now or then, but I know in the beginning when it started, it was pretty exciting. You're this young rookie in the school, and of course I'm the tallest teacher walking around, so I kind of blending in with the children pretty much. So you kind of, hey, you're fitting in between them, but hey, but then yo Baker, and then it's like, so boy, all in all, it was a fun experience for me, because like I say, being a young one and trying to being a leader in your own stance, knowing who you are, knowing who I am, knowing what I want to achieve, knowing what my mind was set on. Even though I was the rookie at that time, I still had, so to speak, quote unquote, my eyes on the prize. So my goal at all times was, hey, how can I inspire another one? How can I motivate? And this might be a little sidetrack, but before I came to St. Martin to move back to St. Martin, I was working in Holland. I was working at Albert College in Rotterdam,
Okay.
right? And one day while working there, it just dawned on me, because I look around and I see all the kids in the class that I was busy teaching. And I had a lot of Turken, I had a lot of Moroccan, I had one or two Antillian, and a few Dutch kids self. But then it dawned on me, hey, Baker, it's time to go back. It's time to give back now. It's time to give back to your own community now. because I appreciate teaching and passing on knowledge to these kids, which is good, but they're going to be all right. They got other people like me up there. And that's where I decided, no, I think it's time for me to come back home and give back to my community.
Mm. And that is where I feel I want to go to. What is a teacher to you? Because you was a teacher in class in school, but you could be a teacher in different ways. But what is a teacher to you?
A teacher in the word teacher itself is a very broad word on its whole, right? But what gives me great satisfaction and what make me feel nice about the job, about the profession, is, for example, how you started off your program today when you said, Mr. Baker, you said something. No, I said a lot of things, but one thing or something that I said stayed with you. That for me there is how the club here. They tap on your shoulder and say, hey, Baker, continue what you're doing. That's it right there for me. And it comes in different forms. It comes in different forms, and I highly appreciate it when I get it, because I always believe that give somebody the flowers while they're alive. Don't wait till they die and then to say this and that. Let them know now while they're alive. You know what I mean? And then we move on from there. But like I mentioned, it come in different forms, and I'm always appreciated for it.
That's beautiful. Well said. Let's get right to it. The message that you gave to me going to school, you give us an assignment where we would have to write on a piece of paper what we believe people think about us. And we basically write down what we think people think about us. And then when we give you the answers and we had to say it. But then when you tell me this is what you think about yourself, it just had like it opened my mind. Like I was just thinking like why he's saying this. So my question is, why did you taught us that? And why was it important for you to teach kids these life lessons?
Why did I teach it to you? Why did I teach that? It's pretty difficult to answer a why question. That is one of the most trickiest questions, because I can't answer that question with why.
Yeah.
I just know. Let's say with my class, I don't have a book. You don't have a book for my subject. I prepare all my stuff. I put all my stuff together. I put my thoughts together, or I get some information left and right, and I build my classes, and that's how we come about stuff. But to answer the question, why did I ask that, or why did I put that in, is hard. But for me though, each one of us have to understand who we are. Everybody, all of us have to understand who we are. We have to understand what our strengths and what our weaknesses are. And sometimes we just actually leave all of that in the hands of other people instead of thinking for ourselves. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So pretty much what happens there is now our own self-esteem, quote unquote, get a bit distorted because of because we are pretty much caught up with what other people thinking as well. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So in saying that, for me, with the youths or with anybody, for me the idea is, hey, you believe in yourself, you be confident, and don't mind what somebody else have to say. They're going to have an opinion anyhow. I mean, and they are allowed to have an opinion. So why bother yourself with their opinion? There's this famous line that I always stay in my mind, where they say a person must improve what they can and accept what they can't. Improve what you can and accept what you can't. And I'll just leave that right there.
Beautiful. So, teaching to someone that want to be a teacher, but probably they don't have communication skills, or they don't have a subject that they're pretty good at, what would be your advice to somebody that wants to be a teacher?
Oh, so you're telling me somebody that wants to be a teacher, but they don't have communication skills, and what else they don't have working with them?
And they don't have a subject that they're really good at.
Really good at. Yeah, that is where exactly you would fit in. But you see, I can't answer that for them, because that would be very selfish of me. Yeah, because I was at that same point. I was at that same very point where I know I want to be a teacher, but I just didn't know what, you know. But I did my part, and what I would advise them is do your part. There is a gap there for you. You just have to find yours. Everybody have to find theirs. And yeah, I'm grateful for finding mine, but everybody would have to find theirs. Yeah.
Entrepreneur, business. How people do not know that you busy with other businesses besides teaching. Can you tell us a little bit about a business that you or your family have at this moment?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, besides personally with myself, I keep myself busy with my own consultant company. I have a company that's called Social Consultant Agency, where I
Okay.
focus more on giving different social skills training to businesses or employees from various businesses or whatnot. So that is something I keep myself busy with. But apart from that, my family line come from a deep background of businesses as well. As you may know, my family is we're in charge of the Baker Suites. We have the Baker Suites Hotel that is pretty well. When I say my family, let me break that down for you a little bit. Um, let's start with my dad and my mom. They're the captain of the whole ship, and on the left hand side you have my brother. On the right hand side you have me right there next to my parents. So they're the ones that control and lead the whole ship. And at a point in time they decide, hey, you know what, it's time to pass the baton on now to their kids. So in that sense is where they pass the baton on and say, hey, my brother Stasio, he's the one, he's in charge of running the hotel, Baker Suites Hotel, and myself, I'm in charge of taking care of the car rental, Tropicana car rental.
What was the difficulty or what was the obstacles running a family business? No problem.
Okay, well, to answer your question, obstacle in a family business, I would say trying to make it perfect, trying to make it better than it is. Which, in all honesty, I think we should always strive to be better. We should always strive, no matter if you reach the top, you should still continue striving, because somewhere there is a stretch for you to go higher, so you're never fully at the top. So,
Yeah.
continue going. But I think that is one obstacle we would have. I would say, I don't want to call it an obstacle because I don't want to put mouth on it like that. But really and truly, it's trying to be perfect, trying to be better. And this has nothing to do with what anybody from the outside have to be thinking.
Hmm.
No, this just has more to do with um, self accomplishments.
Hmm.
When I say that, I'm picturing my dad right now. My dad come from a background where the education wasn't a no high level. It wasn't a no high level. So at a given point in time, he had to rely more on trade, had to rely on doing things for himself. So eventually, this gentleman now went off and he made it happen for himself as a carpenter. As a carpenter, he pushed himself, he made himself better. Eventually, he had one goal. And he said, and this is all the story he told me, God, he's alive with us, so you can always attest to this when he see back the video. I could remember he said that when he reached 50 years, he don't want to work for nobody else no more. And he reached 50 years, long time. And at that time, he stopped working for people. Then is when he decided, you know what, I'm going to go more into business. And there was now where he come up with the different businesses that you would have. I would say he have, because he gave my brother and I the keys to drive the car, but he is the owner of the car. If you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying there,
yeah, I understand
you
this.
understand. So he's the one now what push on now, and now um, went on into the different venture off into the different businesses, as in with the car rental, apartments, and whatever else he would say he have. When I say that, I'm saying that to tell everybody, to let you know too. Um, Father always tell us one thing: don't sit down and wait until he pass away to try to say go and get something for yourself. No. With that being said, he planted a sort of seed within my brother and myself to a sort of go getters kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you all might be familiar with the party bus. Now that's my brother and his idea and his creation, and that's his project. He didn't sit down and wait until something happened. No, he went and he ventured off in that area.
So what was the good thing? What's the positive thing of having a family business?
Um, the positive thing of having a family business is that together, together you make things happen. You put your mind together, and as one unit, as one family, the trust is there, the relationship is there. So whereas that makes things even nicer. I mean, with all of that too, I mean, of course, it's family. So you have the being hard on is also there. So at some point in time, you can expect that one going to get upset with the other because this ain't going how they picture it would go or whatnot. So you have that being hard on the other one, that is also there. But those are all of the parts of what comes with building a business, or building a family business, so to speak.
The mission, when it comes to yourself, what is the advice, or what is the things that you need to know having a business?
The first thing I would say that you need to know when having a business is who your clientele are, who your target group is, who they are, and try to assure that you can reach that target group. Another very important part of it is, and many people don't look at this too much, is the communication of the business itself, the communication within the business, from business to client. That communication, that bridge there has to be pretty smooth. When I'm saying, with saying that, I'm saying sometimes we tend to forget and overlook the small little things such as a good morning, how can I help you? Instead of, watching the customer and thinking that if the customer need me, they're going to ask for help, so little things that and of course, as a family business, you tap each other on the shoulder where it's not going the way you see it to go. For example, in the two businesses that I mentioned between my brother and I, it have times my brother would like tap on my shoulder like, hey B, I needed to check this and this and this, and he's talking about the business that I'm running. And of course, I don't see it as he can't tell me anything. No, because it's family owned. It's as much mine. I mean, it's as much his own as it is mine.
So like how you are a teacher, right? And right now we talking about entrepreneur. Do they
Right.
have a school or courses that you aware of, or a movement where they bring in entrepreneur to the island?
Well, to put a finger on right now, I can't just say yeah. I can't say no. I wouldn't say no, but I can't say fully that I know exactly where to go left or where to go right. With one thing I would definitely say though, for anybody that have that in mind, start with you. Start with you. Start with a will. Start with thinking for yourself, what can I do? I love to listen to Bob Marley, and Bob Marley once said, I must become somebody. In an interview, he mentioned that I must become somebody. So I would always say that, start with yourself. Make sure you want to become something or someone out there. Many people has mixed up, and I ain't knocking no kind of hustle and no kind of job, but many people has mixed up a job with a career. They mix those two things up, and at times we have to realize that hey, the bigger picture is a job. Any one of us can get a job. Job is not a problem. We can get a job, but you should have that kind of drive in yourself to say, I want to be somebody. Try to have that title behind your name. It not only brings self-satisfaction, but it also brings status, but it brings business. It brings business all in all, no matter how you twist and turn it.
What was something that you learned that you didn't know before, but you had learned when you started working in the business? And the reason I'm asking that is because of the word preparation. We tend to want to prepare ourselves not to fail. We prepare ourselves so nothing don't go wrong. But what we don't understand that actually we need to take a step or take action, because there's where we get the real lessons. So going back to something that was positive to you, which is the customers. What about the customers that you would say you would never be prepared for or learn about, that you would only know until that time comes?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for that question. That famous saying that they have, that they say the clients are always king, or the client is owning. In Dutch, they say it that way. That is one that yeah, I would say that one because um, as going into business, some you have to always remember. Of course, you don't want to say, "Hey, I'm going to disrespect a customer" or anything like that. You definitely don't want to go that route. But
Yeah.
you pretty much learn that the hard way too, to swallow your tongue at times and know how to humble yourself at times and
Mm.
put on a different cap instead of saying, you put on the cap more of, "Hey, I'm into business. I'm not into losing business." So instead of um, running a customer out of the door, you try to come up with a different solution or a different offer. So I basically learned that client is calling, the client is king aspect in in dealing with tourists, especially dealing with tourists in the tourist industry here with the businesses. Excuse me. You come across different tourists. Some of them come across in some ways that
Mm.
they come over sometime. Yeah, some would want to come a little too hostile, or they come a little too, however, that's not to your liking. Maybe the tone of voice is not to your liking, but I know where the line, I know exactly how far the line is. I know
Mm.
where my boiling point, when I reach my boiling point as well. And I know how to diffuse it and how to actually keep in the back of your mind, hey, the main purpose why this person is here is for business. The reason why this person is in your location, is in your establishment, is for business. They didn't come here to for a backpack
Yeah.
between two of you. They
Yeah.
didn't come
Yeah.
here for that. The main purpose for being here is because they're interested in your product. Treat your clients as how you would want to be treated.
Children. Perfect. Entrepreneur. If we talk about entrepreneur, we talk about business, and you in the business. And some people don't have a business. And a lot of people start businesses because of the money. People want to make a lot of money, and they hear starting a business to make a lot of money. You that in a business as well, should people focus on the money, or people should focus more on something they really love or they're passionate about?
To be honest with you, is a mix of both. It's a mix of both. You should do something that you have passion for. You should be yes, let's give it like that. You should do something that you're passionate about, but on the other hand, you should also keep an eye out for what kind of market have out there as well. So if there's a market in, for example, in ladies love to do hair,
Yeah.
and if I find a spot, for example, I'm just going to say in Grand Marché, where I can open a hair shop, not because I don't have the passion, mean I wouldn't do it. If I see a market, I see an
Yeah.
opportunity. Yes, so that's what I would say. It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. But the passion part would come in the sense of, I would have to have someone next to me. I would want to have someone close to me then who knows about that business themselves more. So if I go into the hair business, my partner in that company would then be somebody that knows somewhat about here, and that can actually so they're the one probably would have the more passion for it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say it's a mix of both. It's a mix of both.
Hmm. So now we're going into general advice. So you taught me something in school, and probably you could teach me some or teach us something today that could carry us on for the future. If you could give us advice or a phrase of something that is very important to keep motivated or keep pushing forward when you have obstacles and you feel like no one is supporting you and you're on your own. But what kind of advice you could give to somebody like
The best advice I would say to somebody that's needing motivation is start with prayer. Start with prayer. Humble yourself, relax yourself, calm yourself, and don't pressure yourself. Take things one step at a time, one step at a time. Try to clear your mind, clear your focus, because at times we try to cloud our mind
that?
with too much of thoughts, or too much of negative thoughts, or
Mm.
challenging thoughts, or like, oh gosh, why is not going to work, or maybe this ain't work because of that, and we put a lot more pressure on ourselves than actually we need to. So in case in ways like that, I would say let's relax, take your time, take it one step at a time. Another thing that is also pretty cool is speaking, speaking. Talk with a friend. Most times when you sit down and you try to keep things inside and try to do it on your own, you would realize that, hey, you're limited. But if you just share your mind, share your thoughts, just share your thoughts with a friend of yours, and maybe don't even have to be a friend. Maybe it could be a time on the train and you sit down next to a stranger, and you just start talking, and you just, hey, what was on my mind? I was thinking such and such. And sometimes um, you might first start to realize for yourself based on what coming out your mouth. Hey, oh shucks, and start to wake up for yourself. Or you might end up getting some advice, and that can help you go in there, or not advice only, but a tip that can help you going. So talk it, speak your mind, speak whatever have in your mind, what you have in your heart. Don't keep it on your chest. That would be my advice. Those would be my advice.
That's beautiful. Thanks a lot, Mr. Baker, on that one. But before we go, I want to go back to teaching. I actually want to go back probably in your history book. What was a moment back in MPC that always stuck with you, but more on a entrepreneurial or helpful or motivated way, where you felt that you motivated somebody?
I would say what stayed with me the most is my bond that I have with my students. That I think I find that is the most sacred part of me and teaching, because my relationship with the students goes beyond teaching. At least that's how I feel. That when a student finish school and they walk out through that gate, or even if they don't graduate but they leave that school, um, and I have to see them outside of school, it's always one love. How you doing? What's the latest with you? What going on? So that bond with my students is something that I think I would cherish the most. Sad enough though, I must say though, in the years that I've been working there have been a lot of joyful memories, but you also have the sad ones where you have some students that didn't make it, literally, that passed on.
Yeah.
Or I have a few of those as well, and those are always they just touched you too, because hey, you just have your last memory of this person in class, and you know how they was, or the type of way how they used to speak, or the type of jokes they used to make. So you have that as well. And you also have those that yeah. So I just want to say too, I ain't forget those that ain't here either.
Yeah. Yeah, respect, man. I always like that real from you, Mr. Baker. You always was real, to us, 'cause I know myself growing up 26 of age, you see how people, when people don't care about you, it's like they're not real. And it's like you just have that read, and it don't even matter the people that come in your life. You always show that realness, and probably that is why the same way with this interview and this podcast, where it's things that certain things can be answered, because just the realness in you that we probably might have to pass on. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
that's really, that is the gift of um the blessing that we have here today on the Young Media Professionals podcast show. And I thank you.
Definite.
Do they have any shout outs out there that you would say that? I know one shout out I would have a shout out would be your father, shout out to the big Mr. Baker. So that would be my shout out. But do you have any shout outs out there that you would recommend?
Well, hey, like I say, it's a family. It's a family circle, and if we big up the Mr. Baker, we can't not big up the Mrs. Baker.
Yeah.
And again, my brother right next to us, right there too. But again, family is everything, because just like how we are family, we also have our intermediate family, our inside family as well, which is my wife and kids. So, and he and his wife and kids. So
Yeah.
I gotta touch them. But all in all, though, gotta big up my farmer students. Man like yourself, who doing what you have to do. Keep yourself focused. I enjoy something. I just strolling through the book, the field book. Sometimes I put up on your thing there. And the last one I catch you there walking to, you were walking and you were telling me, wait, what you were telling me? I can't remember exactly what you were telling me. You know? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one themselves, that one themselves. You know, Miss, I sit down and I take a listen to it. I just like in your vibes to continue with that energy because you're bringing over a vibe too, you know what I mean? And eventually, you're going to reach where you want to reach as well.
For
So you
sure.
continue striving to my brother. I mean, once you reach out and you say, Mr. Baker Boy, let me do something now. There's no way you or anybody else I would tell them no to. For me, it's all about one hand help the other hand, and that's how we gotta continue going, you know. And you must always keep that in your mind too. When another brother step to you and say, "Hey, listen, just let me a studio there for a second now. Let me a studio because I want to record something."
Yeah.
You're like, "Boy, yo, this is my studio," but maybe you could take a little chance and say, "You know what? Take a 30 minutes and do your thing. Man, don't just lock it off." You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You give back, you give back, you give back.
for sure. But that's the end of the podcast show, Mr. Baker. And I thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us. Guys, I hope you guys enjoy it. Please subscribe to the YouTube channels, follow the Instagram and Facebook page, and the website will be coming soon. So locked in, and we will be here for more videos. This is by Jeremy. That is Mr. Baker, and we out. Peace.